It's time for the show that brings the magic right to your speakers. Ears Up!
Hey, what's up, everybody? Ears Up Podcast. We are back with another show. This one's all about Dick Nunis.
Yeah.
He passed away recently, not too long ago, month and a half ago or so, something like that.
Little more than a month ago, yeah.
Yeah, and Eric thought, you know what? This man needs his own tribute show because he's done so much for the Disney company. And I said, sure. Who? And he said, Dick Nunis. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, sure. What is that, your show? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay, great. I love it even more.
As long as it's my show, you are in.
Like, I don't know, man. Whatever. It's fine. It sounds great to me. No, I do appreciate your level of, not obsession, but knowledge, I suppose, excitement of the people that we don't really hear about in the parks too often, except when they pass or they retire. Because I just don't have that, you know? I'm not like I don't know. I don't get into it like that, like you do.
Okay.
So I really appreciate the fact that you want to do this and you're going to educate us a little bit, and I think that's great.
All right. Well, thanks for giving me a chance to talk about somebody who isn't one of Walt's 9 old men.
Yeah.
Definitely not one of Walt's 9 old men.
Yeah, absolutely not. Before we do start the show, though, Taryn is not going to be on the show tonight. Alice has been sick, man, and so now Taryn thinks she's sick. So she's like, I don't know if I leave the show in the middle, is it going to distract you? And I said, no, because I'm a professional. But I also don't want you to be sitting there worrying about whether or not it's going to distract me, or just don't show up. Just don't come in here. It's fine. You don't have to worry about it. Go rest.
But don't worry, Taryn is sipping bone broth standing directly behind Jason right now.
That's right. She's exactly.
She's just not talking.
Yeah, she's a big bone broth person. Yeah, Alice, I don't know, man. She came home Friday and she's like, I don't know, kind of not feeling well or whatever. Saturday, she had a fever and just laid on the couch. Like she was poured out onto the couch and she just didn't move. But she felt fine, I guess. And then Sunday was the same. Monday, she woke up. Everything's fine. Like I slept in the spare room because Sunday night, she was like, I really just want to sleep in your room, Mommy, Daddy. And I'm like, bye. I can't, our bed is large enough, but our daughter moves a lot and I just can't. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go in the spare room or whatever. And so I wake up and she comes in with this little pretend computer and she starts doing work and like just playing. I'm like, oh man, she's feeling good, but let's keep you home one more day because I want to be a responsible parent just in case it's either fake or, you're going to get someone else sick or whatever. Let's just stay home a day. So Tuesday she goes to school. Wednesday she goes to school. Everything's fine, right? Yesterday she came home and laid down on the floor in her room and fell asleep.
Oh,
like, Alice, are you fine? Yeah, I'm just really tired. Oh, okay. Sure. And then she her fever kind of came back, and then she all day she's been laying in our bed until like 11:30, and then she's been on the couch. Just miserable, man. But she slept a lot and she feels better now. So I don't know what to do, but like that's a freaky as a parent, like nothing really prepares you for your child being sick and you don't really know what to do or how to like help them feel better. It's very weird. And then it goes away and then it comes back suddenly. You're like, what's going on?
Oh,
weird.
Yeah.
But hopefully she'll be better tomorrow, mainly because tomorrow the kids get to dress up with their favorite sports team shirt or whatever. And we bought her a Liverpool jersey specifically for the day. And so I'm like, oh man, everyone's not going to know how cool I am. But apparently, maybe she'll go to school. We'll see. So anyway,
what a cool father that child must have.
That's exactly right. Yes. All the children will be like, Alice, Dad, you're the best. And I'll say, I know, child. I know. Yeah. Anyway, that's what's going on.
I
here,
like
man.
England sport.
It's you and me, baby. You and me, Eric. Speaking of Eric, I don't know.
And England sport.
And England sport.
His love of England sport.
Yes. If you guys are planning on going to any of the Disney parks or on a Disney cruise, I really hope you'll consider reaching out to our travel partner, Concierge. Go to concierge.com. and let them book your travel. You give them all your information, tell them your parameters of what you want, and they will book the best vacation for you. They will book the closest hotels possible. They will book the best hotels possible within your budget. They will check and make sure that you're getting the best deal right before your trip starts, so you can hopefully potentially save some money, and they will just rebook stuff for you. They will handle your reservations for dinner. They will guide you through Genie Plus and Lightning Lane and all that stuff, and all of this is free. There's no additional charge. It only charges what the parks would charge you on the website. That's it. And for the level of service that you get with Concierge, it feels like stealing. Become a thief today and shop with concierge.com. Let Concierge be your travel partner as well.
Absolutely.
Steal from them.
Yes, steal from us. And let's look at Walt Disney World, where if you're just getting regular tickets, the whole reservation system is going away, but we're also reintroducing the dining plans. So we're taking away a level of complexity, and we're adding in more complexity. We'll take care of that for you. We'll tell you, just don't worry about the dining plan, or yes, please, absolutely do the dining plan. And we'll help you.
This is one thing that I'm glad you guys are doing, because listening to Jeremy, he's the one who keeps me up to date with what's happening in Disney World, where it's, there's no reservations unless you're going for a certain amount of time, and then you need a park reservation. It's like, I wouldn't go. It's too convoluted. It's too complicated right now. And I wonder when it's going to go away. I wonder when it's going to be like, fine, you know what? Show up whenever you want. I don't really care anymore.
That's what Bob Iger will say in a few months. He's like, I'm done with I can't figure it out anymore. We're done.
Yeah.
Just come, but give us money and come on in.
Do you think Bob goes to the parks like for fun? When was the last time you think Bob Iger went to Disneyland or Disney World or a Disney park for just like fun? Do you think he considers that fun?
So as we're gonna find out, Dick Nunis was famous for wearing Bermuda shorts as professional wear.
Oh, I love this man already.
I'd like to see Bob Iger showing up with a blazer and a shirt and a tie and Bermuda shorts and saying "Whee!" as he goes down like Big Thunder Mountain.
Yeah, and just wait. That'd be so cool. I don't think he could. I think I don't know, the Kardashians, which I hate. I need to rinse my mouth out every time I say their last name. They go to Disneyland and they're fine, but I don't think Bob Iger could go to Disneyland. I think he would just be inundated with people either complaining or throwing rose petals in front of him.
Well, and I mean, at least we have Josh tomorrow showing up.
Does he just hang out at the parks and like chills?
Well, Josh has been known to chill and show up and yeah.
I would
Bob,
imagine.
I don't know. I would Bob.
Imagine Iger is, at the end of the day when the parks are closed and he wants to ride a ride, he just, goes and does it.
Turn Tron on. Mr. Iger, you're in California. Turn Tron on.
Okay, let's get you back to the office, Bob. Let's go. Yeah, man, I think that'd be cool. All right, let's learn a little bit about Dick Nunis, huh?
All right. Dick Nunis. So Dick Nunis unfortunately passed just over a month ago, December 13th, 2023, at the age of 1991.
Okay.
He was 91 years old. He was 91 years old. Dick was born on May 30th, 1932. So yes, when he passed away at the age of 91, it was in December.
Good life, man.
Good life,
And
Dick is one of these heroes that he's somebody that I've always wanted to hear more about, but he's such a secretive guy. He didn't release a memo. Memo.
Are you in fact all right?
I'm great.
Okay.
Yes.
What font are you reading at? Because maybe you might need to increase it.
Yeah, I might need to increase the size of this. Yes. He didn't write a book until last year. and he didn't do a ton of like D23 things. He did a few. He didn't show up a lot. So Dick Nunis defined Disney legend. He spent decades at the parks. He worked for Disney for 44 years, constantly learning and improving the parks.
Hmm.
He was close friends with Walt himself, and he doesn't have a Wikipedia page.
Impossible. Like, you know what? I'm going to sign up. I'm going to be an editor, and I want to make this man a friggin' Wikipedia page. How dare they?
Right?
How dare they?
He was rarely seen at events after he retired from Disney. His appearance in the Imagineering story was actually a surprise to a lot of people.
Yeah,
If you,
like people like me going, who?
right. You're like,
I
who's
know-
this guy sitting
yeah.
in front of the gates and talking? Who's this guy? But thank goodness he got a memoir out. That's the word I was trying to say earlier. Not memo,
Ah.
memoir.
Okay. Either way.
The book is wild. I loved reading this book, and most of what I'm going to talk about tonight is from this book.
Okay. Awesome.
The book is Walt's Apprentice: Keeping the Disney Dream Alive. And he really was. He was a friend of Walt. He spent a lot of time with Walt, and I could probably talk about this guy all day. I mean, if it were up to me, I'd just read. This episode tonight would be me just reading his book to all of you.
I think that's how I felt about the Buying Disney's World or Buying Disney's Land or whatever, the Aaron Goldberg book, Buying Disney's World. That's how it sounds like that's how I felt. It was like, I just want to read the book.
Right.
Because it's so well done and there's a lot of cool information. Like, how do you parse this down? You're missing out on the cool parts of the stories.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Dick had this way of doing things where he's so pragmatic. He's an operations guy. He wasn't an Imagineer. He was operations, and he was constantly fighting with Imagineers because they said, "Here's the creative thing we're doing," and he'd go, "You need another garbage can there."
See, that would be me. I'm telling you. That would 100% be me. Tara and I were talking about this, she took some personality quiz at work, and it divides you up into like disruptors, which is not a good term necessarily, but it's meant in a positive way. And then basically like thinkers and problem solvers and problem creators or whatever, where people will be like, are creatives. That's creatives and disruptors. That's what it is. Where people who go, we should really do this. And then you have the disruptors going, but does it need to happen?
Right.
And then there's other people going, okay, to do this, you're going to need this, this, and this.
Yeah, and that's Dick, and he was. I have a degree in project management. I've studied a lot of process improvement. Listeners know I'm a pharmacist. Like, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm not standing there like putting pills in bottles anymore. I'm learning how to.
At least not on the clock.
Yes, not on the clock. I tend to put pills in bottles, later on in the day, just for the old times.
Right. Right.
But yeah, like the idea is, how do we be more efficient? How can we increase capacity? How can we do things better? That fascinates me, and that's why I love this guy, because that was his career. So here we go.
Let's do
Strap
it.
in,
all right,
everybody.
Oh, I'm strapped.
Oh, he's strapped. All right.
It's California, man. You got to be. Just kidding. I don't know. All right, let's do it.
All right. So Dick was born on May 30th, 1932 in Cedartown, Georgia, which was also home to Sterling Holloway, the original voice of Winnie the Pooh.
Ooh, okay.
They did not know each other.
Okay.
It's just a coincidence. But Dick's parents were Winnie, his mother, and Doyce, his father.
Okay.
Names you don't hear often these days, except for Dick's older brother, who was also named Doyce. Doyce.
That it, man. These old names that just kind of fell out of favor are
right.
There's a reason,
Yeah, I don't think you can get away
Dois.
with Dois these days.
No, especially like when I was going to school in like the 90s, like middle school, it was like doi, like
Yeah, yeah.
duh. This kid would be taunted mercilessly.
Yeah. Well, Dois did all right.
I bet.
And Dois Sr. also presumably did all right. Um, but so essentially, this kid had it rough. He was not. They were not an affluent family. They just worked hard, um, and and Dick looked up to his parents and his brother as examples of how to work hard. One of his earliest jobs before he got into college was working in a lumber mill. So this is a teenager who's going through high school who works in a lumber mill.
Wow.
Like this is work ethic. This kid knew how to pick things up and put them over there. Like it, that's a big deal, and this influenced him in a very big way.
Yeah.
So he got out of high school. He was going to college, and USC, University of Southern California. I think
Okay.
that's what we call that, the
Sure.
USC Trojans.
Yeah.
Recruited him. He was a footballer, so he had a major in education, and he was recruited on a 4-year scholarship to be part of the football program. He was very proud to be a non-smoker and a very light drinker.
Proud. I'm proud. I guess back then, so he was born in 33. So what is that? Uh, Late 40s, early 50s?
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone's smoking then. Yeah, it's like the cool thing to not smoke at that
Right.
point. Yeah, okay, I get that now.
And
Contextually, I get that.
right. And here's the deal. So during his initiation into his fraternity that he got into, one of his senior classmen tried to shove a cigarette in his mouth to force him to smoke. And in this book, he writes,
Man.
that did not go well for him, but I got into the frat anyway. Like, what did he do? Did he clock this kid?
As a football player, I would imagine so.
Probably.
Man, hazing has changed. I tell you what, man.
Right, right.
Now it's drink 4 gallons of water in an hour and then go streaking through the quad. But now it's like, oh, we're gonna tackle Dick and shove a cigarette in his mouth.
This ain't gonna go well for you, kid.
Yeah.
And that's Dick Nunis. So while he was in school, he worked as an extra in multiple movies because a lot of like football themed movies were filmed at USC. So he was in those movies. He was also in one of the Bonzo movies where a chimp played football.
Okay.
Because, the 40s
Why not?
or early 50s. Yes. Yeah. Late 40s, early 50s. So he played football, and he was good. He was a halfback. November 2nd, 22nd, 1952. It was his sophomore year. USC versus UCLA. This was a giant game, major rivals fighting for the chance to get into the Rose Bowl. And he had a major tackle in the third quarter. And after that major tackle, he was proud that instead of being carted off the field on a stretcher, he walked off the field, sat down, and told the coach, yeah, if you held up your hand, I'd see 25 fingers. And his coach said, maybe you should go to Good Samaritan and get an X-ray. Well, it's a good thing that he went to get an X-ray after the game, because his physician told him that a good sneeze would kill you. Dick had shattered his first cervical vertebra.
Jeez. What is that, high up on the neck?
That's the top one.
The top. Oh,
So
God.
So he had not, it wasn't displaced. So the nerve wasn't moved. It wasn't cut,
Okay.
which would kill him.
Okay. Right.
But any amount of movement could have killed him. His trainer said, "Hey, should I crack your neck?" And Dick said, "It's lucky that I didn't say yes, because that would have killed him.
Can you imagine that trainer? Hey, should I crack your neck? And then he just drops down. Like,
Right.
talk about ruining that man's life. I mean, obviously because he killed this other kid, but like,
Right.
just traumatized, man.
Oh gosh. Yeah. So he was fitted with a brace that covered him from neck to waist for 15 months during rehab.
God.
So he was done with football. He considered it a major tragedy that he could not play during the Rose Bowl. He had to watch it as a spectator. He was given, as winners of the Rose Bowl, they were all given watches, and he got one of the watches.
Sure.
And he was able to stay on for 2 more years at USC with his scholarship. They continued to honor his scholarship, so he continued to go to school.
They should.
Yeah, good on them.
Yeah.
During this time, he tried to get into the Air Force, but apparently a broken neck disqualifies you from getting into the Air Force.
I mean, look, man, if bone spurs can, a broken neck can probably do that as well. I would hope so.
Oh, gosh. Can you imagine this kid showing up to the Air Force with this massive brace? Why can't you turn your neck? Oh, it's broken. I think that's on the list here as disqualifiers.
Right.
During this time, he met Hubert Hobie Alter, who, if you are a surf fan, is the father of surfboards.
Okay, that's cool.
So once he got that brace off, Hobie taught him to surf. So Dick was a surfer.
Nice.
And treasured for his entire life one of the original Hobie balsa surfboards.
Wow.
That he held on to for his entire life. Even though he didn't surf his entire life, he held on to that for a long time.
That's cool.
So once he graduated from school, he was majoring in education. So he tried to get into the LA school system as a teacher. And the recruiter was rude to him. The recruiter refused to shake his hand when he walked into the interview. And Dick, this is indicative in
Wamp wamp.
Yeah, that was not my intent. But Dick got a sense of the way things were going in the interview and stopped the interview and demanded that the recruiter shake his hand.
Damn. I love it.
He got the recruiter in his meat hooks and shook his hand very forcefully. The recruiter said, "Hey, that hurts." And Dick said to the recruiter, and this is a direct quote from his book, "If you shut up for a minute and let me finish, it won't hurt as much." If you're the type of person I'm going to have to deal with in the LA City school system, you couldn't pay me enough to be a part of it. Wow. And he left.
Damn. I feel like him and Rolly were like cut from the same cloth in that regard. I mean, not as aggressive, but just in like the I know what I want, I know what I don't want, and this is exactly what I don't want.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And there's a Rolly story coming up later.
Good.
But yeah. So during school, one of his fellow USC Trojans was Ron Miller, a future CEO of Walt Disney.
Wow.
Productions.
I feel like being in LA in the 50s, that's where you were.
There you go.
That's the place to be.
But yeah, so he had met Walt Disney during college because Ron was dating Diane Disney.
Yeah.
And eventually married Diane Disney. And Dick got invited over to the Disney household and he got to meet Walt. So when Disneyland was becoming a thing, Ron reached out to Dick and said, "Hey, we need some training instructors. And there's a position posted. You should interview." So Ron went to interview with Van France, one of the early leaders who worked under C.V. Wood, the original
the master planner of Disneyland. Yep.
Right. We've talked about that guy.
Yep.
And yeah, so Van was an old friend of CP Woods, and when he met when he met Dick Nunis, he said he was impressed that he showed up on time. He was impressed that he showed up wearing a suit.
Hmm.
He did not like that Dick Nunis was wearing blue suede shoes, but he hired him anyway to be his first orientation training instructor. And that was how Dick got involved in the Disney company. So his first job was 1955 orientation instructor at Disneyland. And he and Van France built the entire Disney way.
Wow.
They developed the entire instruction for all of this. And he said, years later, he said, well, if I had realized that this would be such a big thing, I would feel a little bit embarrassed that we did the entire thing based off of a felt board and a slide projector. But he taught everybody how to do Disney. So yeah, after that he was into Disneyland. He created the first training program. His main theme was you will create happiness for others. Their basic tenets were deliver quality, keep the park clean, and be friendly. And that was the Disney way. They used first names only. They called people guests. These were different things. This was not the normal way you went about customer service.
Yeah.
And they wanted to be different. And Walt supported that. Many years later, following Walt's death, they created the Traditions program, both Van and Dick. And they wanted to continue Walt's lessons. They wanted to basically immortalize Walt's way of looking at the parks. Uh, Dick was a staunch believer in standards of behavior and dress. Van France left the company a few years after Disneyland opened, and he came back later on in the 60s, and he ended up working for Dick when Dick had become a director of operations. And that relationship was fine. The two of them were great together. It wasn't a big deal that the master had become the apprentice, that sort of thing. But Van was a little bit of a sloppy guy. He didn't dress the best all the time, and he showed up for work a few days in a row wearing a shirt with a frayed collar.
Oh, that's a big no-no, brother.
Yeah, and Dick addressed it with Van directly and told Van, you need to get a better shirt. You need to wear something that is appropriate.
Yeah.
Van showed up the next day wearing the same shirt with the frayed collar, and Dick literally ripped it off of his back. This is the man. He ripped the shirt off of a guy and said, "This is inappropriate. Get out of here."
Yeah, that's inappropriate. The shirt is inappropriate, brother. So I'm gonna literally assault you and then strip you half naked in front of your coworkers.
Right.
That's what I'm gonna do. Guy's a
This
psychopath. I love it.
this is the man. He is hilarious. This is why I love the guy. So Dick did whatever was necessary. During the early days of Disneyland, he would clean, he would unload trucks. 4 days before the park opened, it's Walt and Lillian's 30th anniversary party. So this is the famous night where they had a party on the Mark Twain. They had a party at the Golden Horseshoe, and
Mhm.
and Walt was drunk, and all of these great things. So that particular day, Dick estimates that he worked about 24 hours.
Nice.
He taught orientation in the morning to the new crew of hires. He worked with safety and traffic control in the afternoon as the anniversary party guests showed up. He was a security officer as the party guests arrived. He spent 6 hours working as a bartender on the Mark Twain, and then he
God.
cleaned up the Mark Twain that night and went home. This is Dick Nunis.
Man. No. No. Could never be me. It's too
Um,
much, man. It's too much.
So once the park opened, he was promoted to run the mailroom and the phone switchboards, like literal switchboards where you have to move the pegs and everything.
Yeah.
So he was in charge of that team for a while, and he hated it. Now, one of the great things about this book is that at the end of every chapter, Dick writes a lesson learned.
Hmm. Interesting.
Because he most of the time after he left Disney, after he retired from Disney, he did leadership seminars,
Okay.
not like the hey, I'm going to go to these places and talk about how great it was to work at Disney. He talked about his life lessons as a manager. So his life lesson from this portion, which I think is fantastic. Um, let's see. Oh gosh, I wrote down a lot of lessons learned at the end of these chapters. Um,
Just pick
oh,
one.
okay.
Are you
Uh,
overthinking it, or you just can't find it?
no, I because I wrote down so many,
Oh
and
yeah, just pick the first one.
I'm going off of the yeah. Well, let's
Okay.
see. One of his earliest lessons learned is being handed things is an early advantage, but learning to work for things benefits you in the long run.
Wow. Okay. I mean, he's
Sometimes
not wrong, but
right. Sometimes you have to work hard to realize a dream, but you have to let it go because a bigger, better dream is waiting for you.
that is literally never my life.
But yeah, his lesson that he learned during this period was basically you might hate your job, but do it well, and something good will come of this.
Right. Yeah, and that's exactly how you should be. But
Right.
also, this man got a free 4-year ride to college. So don't start talking to me, pal, about getting handed stuff is no good and you got to work for it, okay? You didn't pay a single dime for college.
Oh well.
All right? Give me that nonsense.
Hey, he broke his damn neck. I don't know.
Whatever, only the weak vertebrae shattered.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, a few months after he was running the mailroom and he improved its efficiency, he figured out the best ways to run the mailroom. He was promoted to assistant supervisor of Frontierland and Adventureland.
What a weird promotion.
Yeah,
This is the
they're figuring things out. Like
They're
this is the
figuring things
first
out.
year of operations.
right. So to me, that means, hey, I know whoever promoted him. I don't know how the hierarchy was. Maybe it was Walt. Maybe it wasn't. Like, I saw how well you did here, improving how the mailroom functions. We need help in Frontierland because things are weird and things aren't flowing well. So let's take the smart kid and move him over here because that's. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I can think about because in no reality, well, I would imagine you have a company where someone's working the mailroom and then they go and figure out a whole department works.
Well,
That's just weird.
He had trained almost everybody who was working at the parks.
Okay.
So he had already distinguished himself. It was like let's promote you because he likes to say that when he was first working, he made $1.80 an hour.
Yeah.
And Van France, his boss at the time, said, "No, you made $2 an hour when I hired you." And apparently they argued about this for years. So moving to the mailroom was and switchboard was a promotion. We're going to reward you. It's a crappy job. He resented not being in the parks. That was his main thing. He wanted to be there with all the cast members. So anyway,
yeah, okay. All right, that's fine.
but yeah, as the assistant supervisor, he started to keep a notebook where he would time the attraction loading, trip times, and unloading times. So he
Okay.
started to he built metrics on these attractions
By the
when
way,
nobody else was.
just so you know, $1.80 in 1955, $1.80 an hour is now $20.60. just in
Still
case.
not great.
Just still not great. But just in case anybody's wondering about like, oh, these people should make $15 an hour, and there's no reason we can't afford housing for everybody. There's no reason why people are struggling and have two jobs. They just need to work harder. All right, there you go.
Well, as he went through this stuff, he befriended Walt.
Smart move.
Walt really appreciated what he was doing, so he developed this close working relationship with Walt Disney himself. So close that Dick was the only person to tell Walt, "Hey, so you know how cast members aren't allowed to smoke while they're on the job?" And Walt said, "Yeah." He's like, "You shouldn't smoke on the job. You shouldn't smoke when you're walking around the parks. People know you're Walt Disney." And Walt said, "But I'm Walt Disney."
Yeah, which is a good reply.
Right. And Dick said, "But none of us are allowed to smoke while we're on the job." And Walt actually said, "While I am in front of the public, I will not smoke." Walt actually backed down
Absolutely.
against this guy.
Yeah. That's good. And you know what? That's a kind of a cool thing about Walt is he had his parameters. And
Yeah.
I think he was okay operating within them. You know, it's never like, oh, I'm above everything because of this, because who I am. And, you know, obviously you gave the example of a time when that happened. But for the most part, I feel like he didn't really do that. I think that's how he was like really relatable.
Right.
So
right.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of expected. I like that.
Yeah. It's if he's saying it's all about the show, then you need to be part of the show too.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to be in front of house, you better be following front of house rules.
Yeah. And Dick learned from Walt that we've all heard these stories about how Walt would go on the rides, he'd walk around the park, he'd kind of disguise himself a little bit by wearing a hat and maybe a slightly larger mustache. I don't know.
Yeah. Pants not quite up above his navel.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, who's
Such
this
low
kid?
pants.
Yeah.
But Walt would go around the park because he wanted to see what it was like from the guest perspective. Dick learned that from Walt, and he kept that with him his entire career.
It's super smart. You mean you have to do it, you know?
Yeah.
For any business you have. I mean, look at the like Undercover Boss. They have a whole friggin' reality series about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, so very quickly, so 1956, Dick is assistant supervisor. By 1961, he is director of operations for all of Disneyland.
Wow.
And during that time, he also helped with the opening and closing ceremonies of the Squaw Valley Olympics in 1960. He helped with all 4 of the attractions at the 1964 World's Fair. He was tasked with bringing the Disneyland level of quality and customer satisfaction, basically, to a non-Disneyland location. And when he was asked which ride he would personally want to be in charge of, once in charge of operations,
Yeah.
Walt said, "Well, which one do you want?" And he said, "Well, the Carousel of Progress is going to be easiest, so I want It's a Small World." And so he would ride it multiple times per day, watching to see when people laughed, when people were happy, how people reacted to it, and would help plus it up as they went through the fair.
Huh. Okay, so he was monitoring that ride during the fair,
Right.
to see what improvements and changes they would make when it came to Disneyland.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What a masochist.
Well, he liked his work. So he helped out with all of that. So we've all heard the story of how Walt wanted to make a St. Louis indoor park.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was involved with that discussion. And he gave a fact that I've never, in this book, he wrote about something I've never heard before. Apparently, Walt always planned on doing both Walt Disney World in Florida and Disney St. Louis Riverfront Square at the same time. So Dick was very happy when they canceled the St. Louis project because he didn't want to do 2 projects at the same time.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. Hey, let's take a quick break, Eric.
Okay.
All right. It's about halfway through, you think, maybe? A little bit more?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Good. Okay. Let's take a quick break, everyone. We're going to come right back here and learn more about the great Dick Nunis here on Ears Up. We'll be right back.
And now, back to the show that ignites your dream wish of imaginations and magical color wonderment of forever. Ears Up.
All right. Thanks for hanging on, everybody. We are smack dab in the middle of the life of Dick Nunis, former USC football player and bully of Walt Disney.
Yeah.
Which is how I interpret that.
Yes. I've got a few nicknames that Dick actually listed for himself.
Okay.
in his memoirs. At the end, you know what? Let's skip ahead to the nicknames.
Let's do it.
We've heard a little bit about Dick and his character. So these nicknames make a little bit of sense. So when he was in college, he was called Golden Boy because of his blonde hair.
Oh, okay.
When he started out at Disneyland, he was called Hopalong Capacity instead of Hopalong Cassidy.
Okay.
He was also called the White Cyclone when he would make his walks through the park and like Walt style and judge everybody.
The White Cyclone. Okay. All right. Yeah. That's a little 50s. Yeah. Okay, got it. All
right. His favorite nickname was SOB number 1.
Yeah. I could see that. I could see that being his favorite. That'd be mine too.
One of his assistants would he'd catch her when he'd walk through the room, she would sing under her breath, MICKEY OUSOP.
Who was SOB number 2?
I don't know.
That's what I want to know.
The nickname that he disliked was Tiny Pants.
Oh, what?
So, as I alluded to earlier, he was fond of wearing Bermuda shorts.
Okay.
And he got to a point where when he was in Florida, so he worked both coasts for quite a lot of his career, and Paris and Tokyo, but he changed the rules to allow supervisors and office personnel to wear Bermuda shorts with shirts, ties, and blazers from June through September in Florida.
What is a Bermuda short? Because in my mind, I'm thinking they're just like Hawaiian print shorts.
It's like khaki shorts.
Khaki? Okay.
Khaki shorts.
And he would wear this with a tucked in shirt and a tie and a blazer?
Yes.
Dog.
He went.
What?
He once went to a fancy restaurant in Orlando where all the movers and shakers went, and he was wearing his shirt, tie, blazer, and khaki shorts.
No. What do you do with the socks? Was he hiding his sock garters?
Oh gosh,
he seems like a sock garter guy.
They must have been all the way up to his damn knees.
Oh my God.
But he shows up,
and he had the balls to tear the shirt off of some man's back because his collar was frayed. Homie, your knees are showing. What are you doing?
He changed the dress code. But he went to this fine dining establishment with his wife. They turned him away, and he said, No. Your policy says a shirt, tie, and jacket are required. I am wearing those. And they let him in.
I love that for him. I mean, this is a guy.
I love this guy.
Me too. I can't tell if he was like the original Karen or if he was just sort of like punk rock, where he's just like, no, dude, I'll do whatever the letter of the law is the letter of the law.
Right. I write the law.
Yeah, right. I could have 3 legs and 14 shoes on one hand, but it doesn't say anything about that. The dress code.
Yeah.
I
mean, come on. I mean, he wore blue suede shoes to a job interview.
See, that's what I mean. I think he was sort of like early punk rock, kind of like, let's buck the establishment, but also get the job to be the establishment. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, joining back where we were before we were rudely interrupted by advertisements. Dick continued to excel. He continued to move up in the ranks. Eventually, he became director of operations. By 1967, he was chairman of the Park Operations Committee. By 1968, he was the vice president of operations at Disneyland. And in 72, he was the executive vice president of Walt Disney World and Disneyland. So as he continued on, he kept on picking up these additional duties as needed, as he would say. So when Mary Poppins premiered at Grauman's Chinese Theater, he was in charge of building the English garden that they created in the parking lot of the theater for the premiere.
Okay, cool.
He was part of the executive crew that scouted out Project X, which was Walt Disney World. During this process, because he was so frequently in Orlando, he adopted a fake persona.
Okay.
Okay. His name was Joe Schneider of Continental Canning. He stayed at the same hotel every visit. Continental Canning was a real company, and the hotel got to know him. And one of the desk clerks, when he showed up one night, was very concerned, and because they had learned that Continental was not doing well and was going to be closing a few of their centers and laying off a bunch of people. So Dick had to kind of pivot and go, "Oh yeah, it's real rough."
This man has a secret family. Or he had to have had a secret family somewhere.
His
not normal behavior.
Oh gosh, yeah. His lesson learned for that chapter was, if you need a cover story, choose something boring so people don't ask questions. Who needs a cover story?
This is what I'm saying. Also, what's more boring than canning?
And that was his point, because nobody ever asked him about canning until that moment. When somebody's like, "Oh, that guy's real nice. Oh no, his company's not doing well."
Well, you can tell they weren't doing well because he couldn't afford the bottom half of his pants.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was instrumental in a lot of things that went on during the preparation for Walt Disney World. During this time, he was still going back and forth between the East Coast and the West Coast because he was still in charge of Disneyland. So on August 6th, 1970, was the Yippie invasion. Have we talked about the Yippie invasion on this show?
I did a story years, I think it was one of maybe the first year or two, did a whole thing on the Yippie riot.
Okay, I thought so. Yes.
Yeah.
So to remind people, this was a bunch of folks who were protesting the Vietnam War and invaded Disneyland, and only a few hundred of them showed up instead of the thousands that they were trying to get. Dick Nunis was part of the reason why this was a non-violent reaction to this. They knew this was coming, so he had the police on standby. And really, the only real violence was when he pulled a protester off of the flagpole in Town Square. A guy who was trying to climb the flagpole to steal the American flag.
Yeah.
Nunis pulled him off of the flagpole. Dude took a swing at Nunis. Dick subdued him and had him arrested and showed up at this dude's trial.
Oh my God. I love that. I love the showing up at the trial. Like, that's just a period on the sentence.
Right.
Yeah.
So his preparation was attributed as one of the main reasons why this protest didn't get violent. So at the same time, he's helping get Walt Disney World off the ground. As they're preparing Walt Disney World, opening day's approaching. We're having a similar situation to Disneyland where opening day is here and we are not ready. So one of these stories that has been attributed to him for a long time that he confirms in his memoir, the contemporary resort was not landscaped on opening day, but in preparation for opening day. So it's 3 a.m. He radios his Nunis Raiders, which is what he called his SWAT team of operations people, and says, "Meet me at the hotel to lay sod." One of these workers, one of these kids, approaches him and says, "Mr. Nunis, I've never laid sod before." And Dick says, "First off, my name is Dick, not Mr. Nunis. Second, green side up." And that became their rallying cry for the entire night. Green side up. Everybody's chanting green side up. He bought everybody t-shirts that read green side up the week afterward because these people laid out sod before the opening of Walt Disney World.
This is such a dramatic shift in the relationship that we have with our jobs now.
Yeah.
Nobody would do this. I feel like nobody would do this.
And
today.
he was part of it.
Yeah.
He said management has to be there. We're all doing this together.
See, and I think that's a big difference. But also back then in the 70s, like you picked a job, you picked a corporation, you picked a company, and you stayed there.
Right.
Because that company would look after you.
Right.
And that has shifted in the 80s and 90s. And then now we're all reaping the benefits of that, where it's like, no, I'm not going to do anything extra because you're just going to tell me I'm going to get a raise. And then we suddenly can't afford it. But then the company has record profits and they do stock buybacks. I'm going to leave, so there's no incentive to do that. But back then, I feel like that's what you want to do. You want to get in good with the boss so the company keeps you on.
Right.
It's just a weird shift, man, in what, 50 years or whatever it is?
Well, yeah. And I mean, early 70s in Central Florida, like there were no jobs. There were no people. Like they had to,
right, yeah.
From what I've heard, like they had to recruit like drunks and, whoever they could find to work at this place.
Sounds like not much has changed. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Hey,
But yeah, so this is a guy who rallied a team and said, "You're going to show up here. We're going to get this done. We're going to make this place look good." And they did.
That's awesome. Yeah.
He was sleeping at the lot. He was sleeping in a trailer at Walt Disney World because early on he had these hotels when they were scouting the place out, and then they built these homes kind of in the area for the executives who were going to work on Walt Disney World. He was sleeping in a trailer at the job site for months as the deadline approached. And he kept on, he would set meetings earlier and earlier because he was there. So one of his,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So he started setting these meetings earlier and earlier. And then finally, one day, all of the executives showed up wearing pajamas. And he finally got the message. And he said he set the meetings a little bit later.
I love that, man. It seems like a really cool work environment.
Right. Like, I mean, that's amazing to have that kind of camaraderie.
Yeah.
Dick is responsible for doing the groundwork, testing, and then recommending the utilidors under the Magic Kingdom, the series of tunnels underneath the park.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of just saying maybe we should do this, he was responsible for having engineers test the ground level to say, yes, this is possible. We can do this.
The Nunis tunnels, I feel like they need to be renamed.
There we go. He determined that the best way to open Walt Disney World was to open it on October 1st, which is one of Disneyland's weakest time periods. And there weren't that many people that showed up those early days. And he promised Roy Disney that by Thanksgiving, they would be at capacity. And they were. November 26th, there was a massive traffic jam on the expressways. And it was his way to say, hey, let's maybe have fewer people show up early, and then we can find where all the problems are and then fix them.
So he took the data from Disneyland, assumed it would translate over to Disney World with the low traffic, and it sort of did.
Yeah. And he used it as a way to do kind of a soft opening and fixed all the problems before everybody showed up. One of the problems that he eventually fixed was the wave machine at Beachcomber Island. Have you heard about the wave machine at Walt Disney World, Jason?
No.
They built a wave machine on this island that projected toward the Polynesian.
Okay.
And the idea was to have surfing
Oh yeah,
on the Seven Seas Lagoon.
that would be cool.
And so Dick tested this out. Dick, a major, like a surfer, an
Yeah.
actual surfer,
Right.
tested this out. He didn't get a chance to do it a whole lot because it was swiftly eroding the beaches of the Polynesian.
Okay. Wait a minute. So you mean to tell me, Eric, that replicating an act of nature that by itself causes erosion?
Yes.
It actually caused erosion, even in the controlled environment that they had built for it. It still
Right.
did what it would actually is like what it does. That's weird. I have no
Absolutely.
idea. Yeah.
Yes. But he swears that the mechanism worked well, but it was destroying the beach. So he shut it down.
Okay.
He eventually got his wave machine in Typhoon Lagoon, their second water park, where they could make giant waves, and you can still show up and do surfing lessons at Typhoon Lagoon in the morning.
I don't know why, but I feel like those water parks were like relatively on the newer side of Disney World history.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, the first water park was Wet and Wild. The like generally regarded the first water park was Wet and Wild in the Orlando area in 1973.
See, I think that's too far away for me, for my brain to comprehend.
Okay.
I don't know why. Like, I feel like the whole concept of water parks is like 80s.
Well, yeah, I mean, they blew up because after that in 1973, then I think it's 1973, and then they built River Country at Disney, at Walt Disney World.
Thank you.
The year later.
Yeah, we don't say Disney on this show.
Sorry.
It's Disney
at
World.
Walt Disney World.
Thank you.
Walter Elias Disney World.
Yes, resort in Florida.
They built River Country in the Fort Wilderness area. That was the next one, and that was a freshwater park where it wasn't like chlorinated water. It was real lake water.
Oh, good. That's such a good idea.
It lasted for a long ass time.
Sure.
Man.
Well, they didn't really.
Let's talk about River Country.
They didn't really know about like pink eye that well. I feel like that's not.
Somebody died because of an amoeba.
Oh God. Yeah, they would have no idea.
We'll get into that in another episode. But that was the next one, and yes, then the proliferation just kind of blew up in the late 70s and early 80s.
Okay.
For water parks. But yes, so this man was in charge of all of these things. He opened Epcot. He opened MGM. He opened Typhoon Lagoon. He opened Euro Disney. He opened Tokyo Disneyland. He was the one that trained these executives who came from Tokyo to Disneyland to learn how Disney does customer service.
I don't know why that's so wild to me. I don't know. It seems like these are the parts of Disney. This is why we started the whole show, right? The whole network, the whole thing in the first place was Disneyland park specific history. But the deeper you go into the corporate history, it's such a different animal than like the history of Google or whatever, right? Because they're redefining, or they're not even redefining, they're defining
right
training protocols and what to do and how to do it and bringing people over. And it feels like they were much nicer, much kinder about it. Where I feel like nowadays you hear about, oh, they just wine and dine everybody. You bring investors for such and such company. They go out and they go to the club or whatever. But like, I don't know, it just seems much more of a, I don't know, cult of personality kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, and people still, to this day, pay Disney to teach them the Disney way.
Yeah.
Like other corporations. I worked for Safeway for years. I know our leaders went to a Disney training session.
You worked for Safeway. They're out here in the Bay Area. Their headquarters in Pleasanton.
I know.
Look at
Yes.
that.
Yeah. I
Right.
worked for Safeway for 12 years.
See, there you go. Everyone needs baggers and cart handlers. So that's
There we
good.
go.
Yeah.
And I was one of them as a doctor.
Dr. Cart.
sometimes you have to ring people up for buying gum. I don't know.
That's true. That's true, man.
But yeah, so like this guy was there for so long doing all of these things, and despite being so involved in operations and so involved in process improvement and efficiencies, at his core, everything was, this is the Disney way. Van France and I created the Disney way based off of what Walt wanted, and we're going to keep pushing this. So here's some fun little Nunisms,
Okay. Okay.
as he calls them.
Yeah.
One day he was sitting in front of Cinderella Castle at Walt Disney World with Rolly Crump. And this is a Rolly Crump story. Rolly liked to tell this story about Dick.
All right.
A guest dropped a box of popcorn and walked away. Rolly asked if Dick was going to pick that up. Dick said, "Look at your watch. In 5 minutes, that popcorn will be gone."
Dude.
Rolly was a big fan of saying, Dick was wrong. That box of popcorn was gone in 3 minutes.
Because someone from custodial came and
Right. Somebody
picked it up.
found it immediately. That's the kind of work ethic that he instilled in his people.
I love the I don't know, man. Maybe it's because it's the Disney brand, and maybe it's because of the park, maybe because it's Rolly. But I feel like any other industry, you take that story, put it within the context of whatever it is, right? If you have Elon Musk telling that story,
Right.
he comes off as the biggest asshole. But this is more like, just watch. It'll be, this is how fluid everything is and how effective. I don't need to do it because I have reliable people.
Right.
Who know what's going on. This is the effectiveness of my leadership. And yeah, I don't know. I like it.
Let's see. So Dick met President Reagan at the home of the U.S. ambassador at the time.
Look, not everyone can be perfect, okay?
Well, there we go. Well, Dick was an unapologetic Republican.
Okay.
And so he met President Reagan at the U.S. ambassador's house. They chatted about football. At the time, they were working on Epcot and trying to bring in all of these international workers to come and work at Epcot. So they required a lot of visas. These visas were not going through.
Weird.
So Dick, through talking about football with President Reagan, went, "Oh, by the way, we need these visas to go through so that we can do Epcot."
Yeah.
2 weeks later, all of the visas were approved.
Well, okay. All right. I love it.
And let's see. Nunis was also a big fan of, for one day every month, he would not read, he would not write, he would not watch television, he would not listen to anything, because he said, bears live so long because they hibernate.
Ow!
So, after many, many years...
Okay, I mean, I guess it's like a social media detox is what we would call it now. Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah, one day where you just rest. So, May 26th, 1999, his 44th work anniversary, Dick Nunis retired. He had his career really affected his life, his family. He divorced his first wife.
Nice.
Because not nice.
I don't know, I'm just kidding.
They had to divorce because he was constantly traveling.
Yeah.
He did remarry. He had a son of his own, and his second wife had children, and he continued on from there. But yeah, he after a long life with Disneyland, well, with Disney in general, he was given in the year of his retirement a window in Disneyland, which is coast to coast people moving, world leader in leisure management, Dick Nunis, proprietor, founded 1955. Offices, Anaheim, Orlando, Tokyo. Wave machines, a specialty. And the
That's so
same year,
cute. That's such a good like summary. I imagine it's really hard to do a window for somebody,
oh yeah,
especially
yeah,
when they do so much, right? Where you can either go hyper focused or a general overview, but you still have to make it sound like it's an actual advertisement. You have to do it. It's not just, you're not listing bullet points of stuff, right?
yeah,
That's a really good, succinct, funny window. I like that a
yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So in the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World, he also got a window. The original Dick Nunis gym, Turkish baths, massage parlor, 24-hour service, supervisor Dick Nunis, night manager Ron Miller, masseur O Ferrante.
That.
So he's sharing a window with
Okay.
his pals from USC. And then he also has a hidden, as he says, it's a hidden Nunis in Cinderella's royal table at the restaurant that's inside Cinderella's castle at Walt Disney World.
Okay.
There's a fake coat of arms hanging
Hmm.
that says Nunis. And he was named a Disney legend in 1999 as well.
Wow.
So he lived out the rest of his life being a badass. His legacy is Disney University, the Traditions program, all of the pillars of training for which Disney is known, efficiency, like working on process improvement on all of these rides and saying we need to measure what can be measured and then improve it.
Yeah.
Because Walt would not have let us continue not improving. Walt wanted it to be 100%, and if you reached 100%, it needed to be 110%. So measure everything that can be measured, keep on improving. It's amazing that after all this time that I mean, the man rose up to president of Walt Disney Attractions. He was on the board of directors for many years. He finally wrote his memoir fairly recently, like last year.
Wow.
And this guy, like, just he's the definition of legend.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
from what I've heard today, and knowing nothing about him previously, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
when you define a corporate structure like that,
right. Defined a corporate structure, continued to improve that corporate structure, all based on his drive for success and what Walt wanted. He continued what Walt wanted his entire career.
yeah, that's
And
incredible.
yeah, what a great guy. It's a shame that he has passed, but my God, he was 91 years old.
Dude,
What a great life.
Yeah, if I could live to 91, I'd be happy with that. Especially if I could still like know who I am and walk. That would be
Oh,
even
yeah.
better. That would
Yeah,
be the best, man.
He released this book. I'm
Yeah.
sure he was working on it for years.
Yeah,
A
I'm sure.
lot of it. Please pick up the book. It's a great read. Most of the chapters are very quick, only a few pages. For like every single chapter is like 3 to 5 pages. It's not
Oh,
that
that's
much.
nothing. Yeah.
It's a quick read, but this guy created this partially as a memoir and partially as like a leadership book. All of his lessons learned are like, uh, don't overestimate the importance of setting expectations. Establishing the main gate at Disneyland is an example of signaling to all that they are entering a special place. Like every single chapter is, I'm telling you this story for a reason.
Mm. Okay.
So it's great as a leadership book. It's just a great way of backing up some of these stories we've heard for years, like that sod story. I've heard the story of him saying green side up for so long, and he actually writes in that chapter, oh yeah, this is real. You've heard this story, you've probably heard this story before. And he talks about the opening day, like Black Sunday, the opening days of Disneyland. He confirms a lot of these stories. like women having their heels stuck in the asphalt.
Yeah.
And he confirms a lot of this stuff.
Which is great because it's the most recent confirmation of that kind of stuff too.
Right. And he's saying, every once in a while he says, yeah, I had to listen back to an interview I did to confirm this. It jogged my memory about the time I met Richard Nixon at Disneyland. But
yeah,
like,
he was a little handsy, but otherwise he was fine. Whatever.
The book is fantastic. This guy is phenomenal.
Sounds great.
I've always loved hearing stories about him, and then to read his own words. Yeah, please seek out this book for yourself.
What's it called
Dick
again?
Nunis. Oh, well, thanks.
Welcome.
Let me switch over to the other tab here. Walt's Apprentice, Keeping the Disney Dream Alive.
There you go. I'm glad you suggested it because it's not every day anymore that we have people who are there on the ground floor,
right?
Passing away, which happens, but it's also kind of morbid. We're like, well, that's when you talk about someone. It's when they get the promotion and when they die.
Yeah,
that's it. The time in between, no one really cares because you're working or whatever, right?
And he was there for 44 years.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like incredible.
That's amazing. Yeah, that was cool. That's a good career. You know who else has a good career? Eric? Sully, our friend of the 21st Amendment, owner and brewer of the 21st Amendment. Go to 21st-amendment.com and figure out where you can pick up probably some of the greatest craft beer you're ever going to have in your entire life. And I mean that not because he's a friend of mine, but because it's just darn good beer. Right now, their popular seasonal beer is Hell or High Pomegranate, which is a classic American wheat beer. So it's a little tiny bit cloudy, but not really. It's not like a German Hefeweizen, which is like kind of banana or clove or whatever. This is more of a clean presenting beer, spiked with pomegranate juice, real pomegranate juice. And it's very, very refreshing as we sort of hopefully move out of this weird wall of water that we have. I don't know about you over there in Colorado, but here, man, God bless, we have been just getting inundated with rain. And where we are in East County, in the Bay Area, we don't get a whole lot of rain out here because it all gets soaked up by like Oakland, Berkeley, Concord moving through, and then Mount Diablo kind of blocks it from everybody from us. So when it hits us, the edge of the Central Valley, like it's bad. Like there's a lot.
we haven't had a
river.
We haven't had a lot of precipitation lately, but I do really love Hell or High Pomegranate because
you got to.
It's always great when I have to go to the big liquor store to get 21st Amendment.
Yeah,
I like my local. I definitely support my local, but
you have to.
I have to go to the big one every once in a while to get something like the Cinar that we're going to have for our secret show tomorrow night.
Yeah,
and
still do that.
And also to get 21st Amendment beer because
there you go.
That's the only place I've ever seen it and around here, and it's fantastic.
Well, you live in Colorado, which is a big craft beer area, so I imagine there's a lot of local people. But you should twist your local guy's arm. Anyway, 21st Amendment. If you're come out to the Bay Area, there's two locations. One in San Leandro, which is the big production brewery. It's fascinating. If you can sign up for a tour, which I don't even know if you can, but if you go there, you can just poke around. These tanks, they had to. It's right next to the Oakland airport, as a matter of fact. And like when you're outside, the planes will fly right overhead. It's pretty cool. But like the private ones, not the big guys, little private planes, little 20-seaters.
So you get to see millionaires flying.
Basically, yeah.
Places.
So when we were there, we went to the 2&A for Taryn's birthday, and Alice loves planes. All kids love planes. Like, oh man, look at that plane, Alice. She goes, well, I go, yeah, wave hi to the millionaires. She goes, what? I'm like, it's fine. But when they were installing the tanks in this, because it used to be an old Kellogg's facility, Kellogg's plant, where they made Pop-Tarts and cornflakes and whatever, right? And they had to they cut a hole in the roof to drop the tanks in. Speaking of processes and project management and stuff, and they had to get a permit with the FAA to have cranes because they had these big giant tanks, these 50 hectoliter German tanks craned in, and so
they're going in from the ceiling. That's crazy.
They had to. There's no other way. So they had to. They had to get a permit to.
Doesn't Jamil usually just drive those in on like a forklift?
This is such a different setup. These, yeah, the ones Jamil had were yes, you could probably do that. These you can't. They're tanks and
Massive.
they're huge.
Wow.
50 hectoliters is
Oh gosh.
giant.
Okay.
Yeah, and several of them. And so there's a no-fly zone around the brewery for a couple hours because of that. It's wild. Anyway, go there, or if you're in San Francisco, 563 2nd Street is their flagship, not their flagship location, but their original location. Selly brews there, so if you're in San Francisco, be sure to go back and see maybe he's brewing or whatever. But anyway, check him out. 21st Amendment, good people, good beer. Okay, we're sort of getting to the end, but there's, I don't know. Okay, here's
You
a
got
couple
some
things.
news?
Yeah, I got some news, but here let me just address a couple things that we're going to be changing this year, Eric. First of all, or mainly
No more Eric talking about Dick Nunis.
That's right. That's over, everybody. No. I think what we're going to be doing, not I think, what we are going to be doing this year is sort of moving how we record the secret show. Normally what we do on the second show of that month, we just stay on and do a secret show. And we tough it out, and we are a little bit
Eric falls
earlier.
asleep.
We are a little bit earlier than Eric is. Eric is in Colorado, of course. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing secret show on a separate day. So like right now it's 10 o'clock where Eric is, almost 10:30, and the man's been up a long time. So we don't want to abuse Eric anymore. He's getting older.
Hooray! Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's what we're going to be doing. We are going to be recording Secret Show, I think, tomorrow night. Eric, is that what you want to do?
Yeah, that works great for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So if you are listening live or whatever, there is no Secret Show tonight. There is one tomorrow, and that's at 8 o'clock. So we're going to be starting earlier, and we can have a nice drink. We have a good cocktail. I have to go to the store tomorrow and buy it.
You haven't even bought it yet?
No, I've been home with a sick kid. What am I going to do? Go out somewhere?
And buy the liquor. I don't know.
I don't know either, man.
Take the kid with you. Have her cough on people.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the American way.
I did feel bad. It really, you know what, brother? It is, unfortunately. I did feel bad sending her to school like Tuesday and Wednesday, but she wears a mask. So
okay.
I did it.
Oh, no, that's good.
And she was feeling better, and her fever was gone. So I'm like, I don't know where this new sickness came in, but that's neither here nor there.
Hey, fever gone is a good sign.
I think so too. Yeah. And she was wearing a mask. Everything's fine. Okay, so with that being said, there's a couple things that I think we should talk about on this show, and then we're going to get out of here because it is a little getting a little late.
March in the past, present, and future with all the news that's fit to cover. It's the EarzUp Disney News.
Okay. I guess following the 21st Amendment plug, you told me, Eric, that there is a brewery in Walt Disney World, and I didn't believe you. I had to look it up on Disney's Boardwalk Resort, or in Disney's Boardwalk Resort. That is the Big River Grill and Brewing Works, which is the Brewing Works is a weird name. That apparently closed 4 days ago.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. I was disappointed. I was so fascinated with how they put a brewery here.
And they were so good. The beer was fantastic.
It was almost 30 years, nearly 3-decade run, permanently closed as of January 22nd.
And if you walked into that brewery the day that they closed, you'd say, wow, it certainly feels like this brewery has been here for 30 years.
See,
the art was so 90s.
I for those of you who don't know, that's my background. You know what I mean? I'm a big beer guy, come from a brewing podcast. I've been home brewing forever. And I've been to all these like old brew pubs that were open in the 90s and the 2000s. And that is my jam. If I walk in and there's walnut,
walnut and pastel like streaks and all, like the wallpaper was pastel, but then all of the art in picture frames was also a pastel, like smush of pastel colors.
Oh, see that's good. But like walnut wood booths with like a light green, covering on the thing or whatever, and like that to me is like that's perfect. That is the chef kiss of like beer pubs. I'm like, okay, I know these people know enough to still be in business,
right?
But not enough to afford to remodel. And I feel like that's kind of good. Where it's like, okay, I know what to expect now because of what's going on here.
they're staying afloat, and you know what? Maybe we don't need to.
Yeah,
We
or
don't
they
need to refresh it.
care, right? They just don't like. It doesn't even think.
People keep coming and buying the beer.
It's like when you're at home, right? And you're like, oh man, I should really sweep, or I should really clean the baseboard. Or I don't know, whatever people do, right? And then you don't do it, and you go, oh, and you suddenly you see it, or you have guests coming over. Like we were gonna have my nephew and his family come over on Saturday, and I was like, oh man, we haven't cleaned, or we're gonna be a mess. This is crazy. And then Alice got sick, and I was like, oh, okay, we don't have to clean now.
Well, at least
call them and tell them not to come over. I think it's
at
the
least
same kind of thing.
your meatloaf is good. It's on point.
Sure, why not?
And that's Big River.
Yeah. Anyway, that's closed. I'm disappointed that I will never visit it because apparently they won a bunch of awards, and I'm fascinated with brew pubs because the operation. And when people were talking about when Marvel's Avengers Campus was opening in DCA, they're like, oh, the Ant-Man place is going to be a brewery. And I said, unequivocally, no, it's not. Because there's such such a large amount of infrastructure that needs to be in place to move that grain. You know what I mean? So if you have a 5-barrel or 7-barrel brew house, it's a couple thousand pounds of wet, stinky malt that you have to extract. And there's a whole sewer thing. There's a lot of stuff, especially in California, that you need to be represented. Disneyland, DCA does not have the infrastructure for that. But I'm surprised that this place did. And like you said, they're grain. They're not even just extract. Like it's just kind of like wild to me. So anyway, they're gone. Rest in peace. Hopefully they open up somewhere else.
Well, I mean, Big River, I think it's a Tennessee brewery. That's the
right.
main.
You said it was a chain. That's right. Yeah.
It's not like a chain. Like they have 2 locations.
Chain.
They have the main one,
Yeah.
and then they have this Disney World one.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird, but I met the brewer multiple times back. I mean, it became a place that I wanted to go every single time I went. When I finally went,
that's cool.
And said, "Oh, the food's good, the beer is good. I want to visit this place all the time."
Yeah,
and
that sounds great.
Yeah, I talked about, we talked about hop,
beer stuff,
the hop
beer
bill, and we talked beer stuff.
All right,
and it was a good place. And I'm sorry it's gone, and I doubt Disney is going to buy that 5-barrel brew system.
Oh, dude, yeah, for sure, especially now.
They're going to put in some other whatever.
But the big thing I want to talk about is the Disneyland Forward program, the development that was sort of talked a little bit about last week, or maybe it was earlier this week. Disneyland has proposed investing at least $1.9 billion. I've seen almost like $2.4 billion. So the numbers, I think, are a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Into the Disneyland Resort over the next few decades, and will provide Anaheim millions more for housing and parks in a development agreement presented to the city council. Seeing that they're going to do housing, to me that's great, perfect, because we need more housing. We have urban sprawl sort of kills. Like people talk about how expensive everything is. Well, yeah, because there's single family homes being built all over the place. We need apartments. We just really do. The proposal is called Disneyland Forward and still needs to go through several more meetings with Anaheim officials before its conclusion. There are no details what Disney will do, but the broad strokes mean the company would have flexibility to choose where it builds new theme park areas, hotels, and dining. That, to me, is very, very important. Disney does not ever want to be locked into any one decision. So they're going to keep that nebulous as much as possible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's just vague book it. It's fine.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
Some of this stuff will happen.
Yes.
I think
absolutely.
some of it will happen.
Yeah. In return for that concession, Disney would guarantee the city $30 million for affordable housing and $8 million for parks and money for nearby road improvements. Quote, "We listened to Anaheim's leaders and worked hard to address what is important for the city," Ken Potrock, president of the Disneyland Resort, said in a statement. "We are proud that Disneyland Forward will provide many important benefits directly to the residents of Anaheim, unless you work for the parks, in which case we will fight to pay you the minimum that we have to." The development agreement would last. That's not really his quote. The development
That's
agreement would last until 2064, which seems why. Will I be alive in 2064, Eric? I'm
2064.
46. Yes, 40, 50, 70. I'll be almost 80. Yeah, I should be alive by then. I hope I'm alive by then.
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. Well,
I'll still probably be doing
in
the
our
show.
80s. Oh,
Yeah.
I hope so. My family is notoriously long-lived, but you know, I drink too much, so
It's true. Well, this is the main reason I'm trying not to. I want to be around to see the conclusion of Disneyland Forward. It's estimated that Disney would wind up spending $2.5 billion at the end of 2064. God. And so city council's voting by spring is what they say. And
spring 2064.
probably this year.
What year is this year?
2024.
Oh, no, that's too soon.
So you go to DisneylandForward.com and you can see.
I love that
what's going
that concept art that they put out a couple of years ago.
It looks
Disneyland
great.
Forward is a great resource for looking at great art.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So you can go to like the limitations section. So they put like what limitations there are. They say 1990s uses and approvals, a decision to separate types of growth by district, and then Disney Today approvals to build without the space to do so. And they're just kind of like saying, oh, this is what's happening. So in the 90s, they're like, well, we had Disneyland and then a big ass parking lot. And then now we have DCA and we have, so they're saying this is what we could do. If you give us space, we'll give you all this kind of stuff that everyone loves. Although I don't think that using DCA is necessarily a selling point.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard from, well, I heard from a plaid on my last trip that the Toy Story parking lot is going away and we're going to put some stuff there.
Nice.
And he didn't know what stuff was going there, but probably that Pandora experience and probably Tron.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Look, I'm sure the Tron thing is cool. It looks cool, but I don't know, man. It would be an interesting experiment to armchair imagine. You're like, what else should go there except for besides Tron?
Yeah, like
Tron,
what's the
Tron
theme?
2, yeah, Tron 2 did not do well enough. I'm surprised they're working on a Tron 3.
They are, yeah.
Which I'm surprised at.
I love Tron 1 and 2. Let's just put it out there.
And that's fine, but
what a surprise.
The surprise was that they did Tron 2 because Tron 1 is more like a cult classic.
Yeah.
Tron 2 tanked, but they're dumping a bunch of money in Tron 3 because they got these light cycle rides, which is fine and it's cool. It seems like a cool technology, but I don't know. I don't really think the Tron brand necessarily elicits such excitement.
Maybe the Toy Story parking lot will become the Walt's apartment experience. They'll just
if Walt could have built the mansion of his dreams, this is what it would look like. And you could stay here. How much do you want to bet some of this expansion is going to be like super elite Club 33 membership type of stuff where, like, you know, you have to reserve. I think some of these Disney experiences we've learned lately in the last 10 years, there's enough money in it where people are going to pay exorbitant amount of money to have these experiences. So some of this has to include a way to upsell the super rich.
So you're saying I need to get a couple more promotions.
Yes, I need to get a job and you need to get more promotions. And then together
I'll take you with, man. No, it's fine. Yeah.
we can
a couple more promotions.
Watch the rich people walk by.
When I get up into seven
just
figures.
Afford a ticket. Yeah. when I get into 5 figures and you get into 7, then maybe we can pay taxes for somebody.
There we go.
I don't know.
Yeah,
anyway,
we'll make some friends.
That's it. There's Tortilla Joe's is closing in March in downtown Disney. I was gonna leave, but let's talk about Tortilla Joe's real fast.
Hey, any of our listeners who are big Club 33 folks, anybody who does make 6 or 7 or 12 figures, please get back to us and help us reopen Tortilla Joe's.
Right.
I ate there once, and
Me too, and it saved my life. And the only time I remember eating there, actually I've eaten there twice. The last time I remember eating there was such a line to get in. And then I think Taryn was like, "Hey, there's like a outdoor bar on the side. What do you think that is?" And we're like, "Oh,
yeah.
I don't know." And you just walk right up and order food there.
the taqueria is great. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, "What the? What is this? Why are people waiting? What's going on? It's stupid." But anyway, Tortilla Joe's is leaving. It's closing on March 31st at the outdoor shopping mall next to Disneyland, otherwise known as Downtown Disney. While the restaurant's Grab and Go Taqueria will remain open until April 13th. Tortilla Joe's is offering Lunar New Year and Valentine's Day promotions to entice longtime customers who wish to raise a final toast to the Downtown Disney establishment. Let me tell you, the food is not that good. Yeah, the food is not that good. To be enticed by Valentine's Day promotions to come raise a final toast. It's not. That's like Applebee's closing down. Nobody cares that much.
Raise a michelada at home.
Right. Yeah.
You'll be
Yasu to Tortilla Joe's. Reservations can be made through March 25th with walk-ins available final week of service. And so that's basically that's basically it. The cantina is closing to make way for a trio of new restaurant concepts featuring Mexican cuisine by Michelin-starred chef Carlos Gaitan.
Carlos is going to make 3 restaurants in one restaurant. That guy is magic.
I think what they're doing is they're doing like a little like an indoor market kind of a thing.
Like a food. Oh, well,
like a food court kind of a thing.
We're already doing the food hall in another chunk of.
Oh, is
Disney,
that not
right?
it? Okay, well maybe that's it. Gaitan's Paseo Restaurant, Centrico Courtyard Bar, and Tendita Grab and Go Stand are set to open this spring in the space formerly occupied by the Patina Group's Catal restaurant Uva Bar. Uva Bar is going away?
Uva Bar's gone, bro.
Dios mío.
Catal is closed. There's a big old. If you had gone to Disneyland recently, you would have seen a large chunk of. It would have reminded you of Jeremy's Epcot, with the amount of board that is around that chunk of downtown Disney.
Look, I wish we could have gone. We just, like I said.
No, I get it.
Yeah. Homie needs a job. I liked Uva Bar, but one thing that bothered me with Uva Bar, it was highly overpriced. You can get some really cool beer that I'd never seen. They get some really cool, authentic German, like Oktoberfest lager when I went there 8-10 years ago, whatever. But it was like $11 then for a beer. I'm like, I don't even pay this at like a hockey game. This is insane to me.
Yeah, it was pricey, but there was something about it where I'm like, I'll go there. Why not?
Because it's a unique dining experience. The Parkside Market Food Hall concept by the Levy Group will feature Seoul Sister, that's Seoul, which is Korean rice bowls. I love a rice bowl, dude. You can't stop me. Sip and Sonder, which is Caribbean-inspired coffee house. I don't know how Starbucks feels about that. Gigi's Chicken Shop, which is rotisserie and fried chicken sandwiches, and a rooftop bar. Sounds good to me, brother. Also coming to Downtown Disney in 2024, Din Tai Fung Soup Dumpling. Have you had a soup dumpling before, Eric? You know what a soup dumpling is?
Yes, I've had a soup dumpling in the past.
Amazing. Here's my thing. Dumpling houses are going to be the next pho restaurants.
I'm in for it because
have I said that
I'm not all that on board with pho.
Pho is fine.
Yeah.
Soup dumplings are far superior than pho.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Porto's Bakery and a new permanent Earl of Sandwich shop. Man, Earl of Sandwich, like if
jumping around.
If Mr. Toad's Wild Ride in WDW had the support that Earl of Sandwich out here had, you guys would still have that ride. Earl of Sandwich fans out here are friggin' nuts. They're insane.
Don't
surprised they're not stapling their ears to the door. They're like, don't close it.
Don't bring up Toad.
This is my favorite.
I'm wistful.
At Walt Disney World, Patina operates the Edison, which is classic American fare in an industrial Gothic setting. So you play a lot of Nine Inch Nails, apparently, there.
There are nine. Yeah, well, no, they don't play Nine Inch Nails. They play like 20s style stuff, but they have people walking around on stilts, and they have scantily clad folks, and they have that. The Edison is fantastic. I love the Edison.
I love a stilt. The Disneyland Forward proposal teased Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar as the kind of Indiana Jones themed bar that Anaheim is missing out on under
Also
current
great.
city development guide. Yeah, Taryn and I went there when it was shortly opened, and it was so new that we got the drink that you get like the monkey head mug for, but they didn't have any mugs yet.
Oh no.
But our friend Aaron went and he shipped it to me. So I'm like, okay, perfect. Anyway, there's a lot of kind of stuff going on here, but there's a lot happening with Downtown Disney, but Tortilla Joe's gone.
Well.
So don't count on that next time you're walking around Downtown Disney going, I'm half cocked, ready to go because I've just came from DCA.
Yeah, well, if you really need to complain, reach out to CEO Nick Valenti, the CEO of the Patina Restaurant Group.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, Nick Valenti. I don't know why I know this.
Yeah, why? Yeah, this is what I'm saying about you. You know, like the weirdest people.
Well, I don't know him
What's
personally.
his email address? No, what's his email address?
Well, it's n.valenti.
Is it? Is it really?
It probably is. I don't know.
Man. All right. Sorry, I forgot to load my outro music. I had to send my Roadcaster in for repairs.
Oh yeah.
And I got it back. And it was, even though they sent a note, even though it's out of warranty, we did it as a one-time complimentary service. They replaced the screen, they reset it for me. And I kind of feel bad because then I returned my Roadcaster Duo. Like, okay,
Oh no.
I just basically allowed them to pay for my replacement and then not keep it. I don't know.
Well, thanks to Rode CEO Damian Wilson that I actually did look up right now.
Damien, thanks, man. I appreciate you very much for allowing me to borrow, I should say. To borrow something, a little bit. Anyway, whatever. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate it. I would talk about the Patreon secret show, but the show won't be out until that records, so don't worry about it. But in the future, the link will be in Patreon, probably that day, because that's just how I am. And I do apologize about that. But don't forget to join our Discord channel. All of the information to join that is in our show notes of every show. Also, be sure to follow us on YouTube. I would love to get the subs up to 1,000. That would be nice for me. I think that'd be pretty fun for everybody else. And the show always has a robust little chat service in there, chat stream, so you can join other, friggin' weirdos who like this show and all the shows we do because it's fun. And what else? We have a lot of cool stuff on the Etsy page. Go to our website. We have a website. You can find all the links and do all the kind of stuff there. But anyway, Eric, good job. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. SOB
Thanks.
number 2. That's you. And until next time, everyone, we'll see you.